Every night, after the curtain falls upon the hallowed stages of the world's theatres, the spotlights are put out and the doors locked up for the night, a solitary glow almost always remains. It's not the glimmer of a stagehand's phone or the torch of a wandering security guard, but the enigmatic illumination commonly known as a ghost light. Despite the dramatic name, it's essentially just a single naked bulb on a stand placed centre stage, switched on to brighten the surroundings when all other lights are extinguished. Ghost lights are there for practical reasons. Theatres can be hazardous places, with plenty of opportunities to trip and fall, especially when conditions get murky. But that's not all. So evocative is the scene created by a ghost light, such is the nature and history of the theatre, that superstitions and eerie legends have grown up around this peculiar nightly tradition. And you can see why. Radiating faintly from that empty stage, surrounded by a large and liminal space like an empty playhouse, a ghost light engenders a faintly supernatural air. Today, it's as much a theatre convention as raked seats, the proscenium arch, or a synchronised bow, yet few people have ever seen one, let alone come to terms with its supernatural association. Let's get into it, shall we? A brief history. It's not known exactly who started using ghost lights, or when, or even why. One possible explanation is that they stem from the late 19th century, days when gas lamps, not electric ones, lined theatre walls. A small flame, perhaps the ghost light's ancestor, helped burn off any excess gas to prevent fires or explosions. Another, possibly apocryphal origin story, goes that a thief broke into a theatre in New York one night, only to fall and injure himself. He successfully sued the theatre for a health and safety breach, forcing it and others to provide illumination after hours to avoid a repeat performance. That version of events might be made up, but very real is the large number of deaths and injuries down the years resulting from avoidable accidents in theatres. Falls off the stage are common, and when they happen it can be very serious, owing to a drop of up to 5 metres when there's an orchestra pit below. So it helps if you can see what you're doing. During the COVID-19 pandemic, ghost lights took on symbolic value, becoming beacons of hope that lockdowns would end and performances return. Such symbolism also works when individual theatres close for renovations or between seasons, even when they occasionally go bust. Woo time. Theatre has always been a place where reality and illusion interweave, and superstitions abound. So it's perhaps not surprising that the most interesting use case for ghost lights applies in the realms of the spirits. Many actors and stagehands believe that a ghost light wards off curses and protects theatres from supernatural disturbances. According to Lovey law, a ghost light is a must if you want to deter spectral mischief, because it either appeases spirits or wards them off. Either way, if you don't have one, then you risk the spooks having a field day. And because there's barely a theatre anywhere in the world that doesn't claim to have a resident phantom, it makes perfect sense that ghost lights have become associated. But, in an ironic twist, a dimly lit stage in an empty auditorium just happens to create the perfect conditions for spooky encounters, of which there have been many down the years. As we know, theatres are dangerous places, so a chock-a-block with the souls of dead actors, audience members and stagehands, who either expired in tragic circumstances or just keeled over due to poor health, forever to tread the boards in the afterlife. The ghost of Olive Thomas. The New Amsterdam Theatre in New York City is said to be haunted by the spectre of a starlet called Olive Thomas, who wanders around during the night. Thomas was a prodigious silent film star, model, and showgirl, part of a Broadway revue group called the Ziegfeld Follies. So successful was she that at the height of her fame, Thomas commanded wages of nearly $50,000 a week in today's money. But sadly, she didn't get to enjoy those riches for long. In 1920, at the age of just 25, she died in mysterious circumstances, having accidentally ingested her husband's syphilis medication, a compound of mercury and chlorine, possibly believing it to be drinking water or some kind of sleeping tonic. Though ruled accidental by the coroner, the press speculated feverishly over the cause of her death, everything from a jealous husband to a deliberate act of self-harm. Possibly because of this violent end and restless speculation about the nature of her demise, Olive Thomas's spirit is said to linger in the New Amsterdam Theatre, particularly during rehearsals. Witnesses say she wears a green beaded dress and clutches a small blue bottle wherever she goes. That was what a security guard reported seeing late one night in 1997. He was so disturbed by the episode that he woke up a senior theatre executive and, over the phone, was heard to shout, "You can't be in here!" before the ghost exited through a wall. Stagehands are so used to seeing Thomas glimmering about the place that it's become customary to bid her goodnight as they leave the theatre. The Man in Grey. The Theatre Royal in London's Drury Lane is more than 350 years old. In that time, it has burned down twice, been demolished and rebuilt, fallen victim to the attentions of the Luftwaffe, and survived the COVID-19 shutdown. It has also been adopted by a number of ghosts, making it one of the world's most haunted theatres. The Theatre Royal's most prominent spectre has become known as the Man in Grey. During renovations in the 1840s, skeletal remains of a man were unearthed. He wore grey rags, and his ribcage was threaded by a dagger. Ever since, a man in a grey riding coat and tricorn hat, equipped with a sword, appears occasionally during matinee performances. The ghost, whose earthly identity is not known, frequents the upper circle seats, and usually disappears through a wall close to the royal box, a point near which his bones were dug up. Among other ghosts is that of the well-to-do actor Charles Macklin, who in 1735 accidentally killed fellow performer Thomas Hallam during a fight over a wig backstage. Well, at least the court found it an accident, despite witnesses reporting him plunging a cane into Hallam's left eye and screaming, "God damn you for a blackguard! Scrub! Rascal!" Either way, he got away with a manslaughter rap, but he didn't serve any time in prison, nor did he receive the customary punishment for the crime, which was to have your hand branded with the letter M. Guilt, then, could be the reason for his occasional reappearances in the theatre post-mortem. These two spirits, plus a host of others, have chilled the spines of actors performing in the Theatre Royal over the years. Speaking during a stint there in 2015, the actor Nigel Planer told the Guardian newspaper, "When you're in here at night, after the show, when everyone's left and the only thing on is a little blue light above the stage, I challenge anyone not to be spooked. The list of theatre ghosts globally is endless, far too long to cover here. There's everything from disembodied screaming and wailing heard in the courtyard of Beijing's Opera House to the spectral residue of a construction worker killed in 1896 by a falling chandelier at the Palais Garnier in Paris. The St James Theatre in Wellington, New Zealand, harbours a few old souls too. One is that of Eerie, a Russian dancer who died when he fell from the theatre's rigging. Ever since, he has tinkered playfully with the house lights and the front entrance doors, and once even saved a projectionist by pushing him out of harm's way to avoid an accident. Another, less welcome presence is the Wailing Woman, the spirit of a failed actress who is heard weeping in dressing rooms and is generally blamed if at any point misfortune befalls a female performer. With all this going on, demand for ghost lights remains strong. And although as theatre goers, not performers, the vast majority of us won't get to see one in action, we'll rest easy, knowing that they're keeping the afterlife's rabble-rousers on their best behaviour. If you're still with me, well done for getting this far. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, by all means crush that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for more weird and wonderful stories. And check out some of my other stuff. A couple of options will be appearing in just a tick. But most importantly, thank you for watching.